Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Have Your Say video.
Oh please, not this again.
And this video is for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18, Episode 9. So today we're going to be recapping what happened in the episode, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll, and I'll be talking about a little bit of recent drama to do with Jane Don't addressing some disturbing allegations. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Also, before we start, it's come to my attention that almost half of you watching are not subscribed to my channel. Now, I would never use the term freeloader because that's just not my way. Freeloaders, 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 freeloaders. But if you would like to help support the channel, please just make sure you hit subscribe because it genuinely does make a really big difference. And I'd love to boost my numbers a little bit more. So please hit that little cheeky subscribe button. Okay, so let's start by recapping the episode. So we find out this week's main challenge is the Rusical, which I love. It's one of my favorite challenges because it's something so unique, and I always love to see how they adapt an actual musical or something into a Rusical and how they make it kind of like a drag queen version. This one is called Fannie, the Hard Knock Ball Rusical, which is obviously a play on Annie. And A Hard Knock Life is one of the famous songs from it. Also, just a point of reference, because they talked about Fannie having a big fanny. Now, in America, fanny, I believe, means butt. In British English, though, fanny is actually a slang term for a vagina. So, yeah, I remember I was with an American once, and they like got some water splashed, and they sat on it, and they were like, oh my God, my fanny's wet. And that does not mean the same thing in the UK. So anyway, that's always just funny when I hear that. So the queens have to decide who is going to take what part. And there's obviously the usual drama of some people like Mikey, want the main role, and Nene also wants it. And then Nene kind of says she doesn't want it, then she does, and then she wants a different part. So we're going to skip over that part of it.
Oh, thank you, Jesus, Holy Son of God.
They also then record their vocals, and just RIP to the lovely Gabe who is featured. He sadly passed away from lymphoma before the episode came out, I think at the beginning of this year. So yeah, just RIP to him. He seemed lovely. I personally prefer it when Rusicals, they do live singing, like in the UK. I know, obviously, if the queens are not good singers, it's not as good, but I think it actually adds something and makes it a bit more realistic. But if they don't do live singing, I guess recording vocals is also a good option. What I can't stand is wire hanger when they have a pre-recorded track by a professional singer and they're just lip syncing to it. I find it really boring. Okay, so let's go through the performances in order in which they appeared. We'll start with Mikey Meeks, who played the titular character Fannie. I thought Mikey was amazing. Her voice was incredible. She really embodied all of the characteristics of Fannie or Annie. I thought she was an amazing lead for it. I also thought she nailed the choreography. It had so much confidence with it. So definitely a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, 95.9% of you, which is crazy, said yay. 3.4% said just okay for some reason. And then an unknown percentage said nay because it's too small.
That's what she said.
After that, we had Darlene Mitchell as Brandy the dog. I thought Darlene looked so adorable as a dog. I really loved the way she kept kind of going, huh? Every time, when someone was saying something. I thought she played it so well. The dog voice was also just so funny. And Darlene kind of gives me golden retriever vibes anyway, so I think it's kind of fitting that she was a dog. So definitely Darlene gets a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, I was slightly surprised this wasn't more. She got 62.2% for yay, which is a lot, but then 35.4% for just okay. I thought she did better than that, and then 2.1% for nay. Then we had Kenya Pleaser as Grace Gautier or Gaultier. I don't know how they pronounce in this particular instance. I thought Kenya, between her and Juicy, she definitely did a better job. I thought she nailed the choreography and she had more of the attitude and everything. As the judges said, I do think there were a few times where the words maybe weren't quite appearing in her mouth the way they should have been. So I think, although she was better than Juicy, she probably fell a bit more middle of the pack for me. So kind of just okay, but maybe on the higher end of just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, I think you agreed because 57.9% of you said yay, but then 36.4% for just okay, so still a decent proportion, and then 5.6% for nay. Then we had Juicy Love Dion as Cecile Cartier. So I assume it must be Gautier and then Cartier. With Juicy, the dancing and the choreography was on point, but to me there was just no characterization. It just felt really flat. It just felt like she was doing the moves that she was taught and that's it kind of thing. There was nothing extra. So it was kind of a just okay, but towards a nay, because she did everything fine, but there was just no spice to it. In the Have Your Say poll, 62.7% said just okay, but then 23.2% for nay. So yeah, I probably would agree. And then 14% for yay. Next up was Athena Dion as Mama Big Bucks. I think Athena suffered with the same problem that Juicy did. So obviously there was something in the water that day for the Dions. Maybe it was the Dion delusion. I don't know. But there was just, again, she was doing everything that she was supposed to, but there was just no characterization. It looks like she was just going through the motions and wanting it to be over as quickly as possible. A little bit like a first date with me.
That is correct.
But I just think that she really could have pushed it so much further because it was such a great character, but it kind of fell flat. So again, it'll be a just okay, but towards the nay. In the Have Your Say poll, again, I think it was the same. 58.1% for just okay, so the majority. Then 33.7% for nay, I would agree, was more towards that side. And then only 8.2% for yay. Then we had Discord Adams as Lil Salty. I will start by saying I think whenever you have two people together doing a role like this, usually it's not a great role because they don't have much individuality and things. So I think both of them had probably the worst two roles, as well as maybe Juicy and Kenya. But I didn't really enjoy these two characters that much. That being said, I think Discord did fine. I think some of the choreography wasn't quite as sharp as it could have been. I think she gave decent face and was trying, but you could tell this wasn't really her bag. So I would say probably just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, 63.2% said just okay. Then it was actually nay second with 19%, but then yay was very close with 17.8%. I would agree, it was kind of hard for me to decide. It was fine, but nothing special. A little bit like a first date with me.
Man, you're like a broken record.
Then penultimately, we have Nene Coco as Big Pepper. Again, a bit like with Discord, this was kind of a meh role, so I don't think either of them stood out. I do think that Nene did better than Discord, though I think she just was doing the choreography a bit better and looked a little bit less like a deer in the headlights or a Coco in the headlights. So I probably would give it a just okay, but a slightly higher just okay than Discord. In the Have Your Say poll, it was 69.4%, there always has to be one, for just okay. Then it was 24.8% for yay, and then 5.8% for nay, so I agree with that. And finally, we had Jane Don't as Miss Shenanigan. This role, I think, was, firstly, it was made for Jane, but also this was by far the funniest role. I definitely would have chosen this role if I was one of the queens, because it was just so, it was the funny characters, you know, the drunk one, she's playing the like Miss Hannigan character. I loved it so much. I thought Jane smashed the role. It was one of those walk on kind of near the end, absolutely steal the scene, do all the drunken funny things, a bit of a cougar. So I definitely would give Jane a yay. And in the Have Your Say poll, I think that's reflected. 92.5% of you said yay, but that is less than what Mikey got, interestingly. Then 6.5% for just okay, and then 1% for nay. So I asked you, whose Hard Knock Life gets a slay, as in the best Rusical performance, and you voted Mikey Meeks, 50.5%. Then Jane Don't with 40%, so those two dominated it. And then in third place, although it was a small percentage, was Darlene Mitchell with 4.1% and Kenya Pleaser 3.6%. Although I loved Jane and thought she was very funny, I was a bit conflicted because I probably enjoyed her role the most because it was just the funniest role. But I do have to say, I think Mikey deserves the slay because she was in so many more like things and scenes, had so much more to do, and because she was the lead, she had to really weave the narrative together and do so much stuff. So I think she does deserve the slay. Okay, so let's move on to the runway, and the category was Beige Against The Machine, so an outfit in beige color. And you'll notice that I am wearing my most beige t-shirt I could find. I don't normally wear beige because my color chart always says that I should not wear neutral or earth tones because they don't suit my skin tone. So this has been at the bottom of my drawer for a while, but I thought I would team with the theme. I mean, some people would argue that my personality is beige enough. I don't need to wear beige. So first up, we had Mikey Meeks. I really liked this. We've definitely seen this, you know, type of silhouette before. It's nothing really that inventive, but it looks very nice, nicely made. It's very beige. She's got shoes that are also beige, which is good. So I would give it a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, 56.9% said yay. Then it was 37.3% for just okay, which is quite a lot. I guess maybe you didn't like it as much. And then 5.8% for nay. After that, we had Darlene Mitchell. I loved this so much. This is so cool. It's so oversized, so so ridiculous. I love the fact that it's basically almost like effectively 2D. And when she turns around, she's just like there. I loved it so much. The patterns, everything. My one criticism is I just wish it had shoulder pads. But yeah, this was definitely a yay for me. I loved this. In the Have Your Say poll, 87.4% of you have good taste because you agreed with me. Then 12% of you are slightly crazy and said just okay. And then one really crazy wacko said 0.7%. You know who you are and you know what's coming to you. Next up, we had Kenya Pleaser. I thought this was quite nice. I think, not to sound rude, but I think that Kenya's not necessarily known for her looks, what we've seen so far. So I don't want to be rude and say for Kenya this is good, but I actually quite enjoyed it. I like this sort of swooshy bit there. I think the bottom of it maybe is a tiny bit simple. I wonder if this is another one of the outfits that the designer didn't come through with. I assume this is the finished outfit because it's nice. It's probably the prettiest that she's looked almost. So I think I'd give it a just okay because it's nice, but compared to some of the others, it's not quite as finessed. In the Have Your Say poll, 50.1% of you voted just okay. So it was almost 50%. That 0.1% of you ruined it. Then it was 27.7% for yay, but then not that far behind was nay with 22.7. So this was quite split, I guess. After that was Juicy Love Dion. I really liked this. It's very much giving beige. It's an interesting silhouette. I just wish she had sleeves. One thing. I just want one, maybe two sleeves. That's all I want. I loved the oversizedness of it. She's wearing a wig, which is always good for Juicy because quite often she just wears a headpiece or that red finger wave wig. So I appreciate that. I love the makeup and everything. This is definitely a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, 82.6% said yay, 15% said just okay, and then 2.4% for nay. Next up is Athena Dion. By the way, is anyone noticing that the runways are in the same order that they appeared in the Rusical? I know, I just blew your mind, didn't I?
Sure, Jan.
I do like this, and she talked about burlap. It's quite a difficult material. By the way, I believe burlap is called Hessian in the UK. I think it's the same thing, just different name, because we would call it a Hessian bag, not a burlap bag. But anyway, I do like the fact that she was using an unconventional material. My only thing is these sort of like spiky bits. I mean, is it wheat? I don't know. I'm not a horticulturalist. I'm something that sounds like a horticulturalist, but not one. This bit I was not a fan of. I would wonder what it would look like without that. I think it might look a bit cleaner. Other than that, it was just a bit too much going on, so it was probably a just okay, because it did fit her nicely. In the Have Your Say poll, maybe you were less harsh than me. You said 45.6% for yay, then 31.6% for just okay. Yeah, maybe I'll revise it. Maybe I would switch it. Maybe it was a yay towards just okay rather than the other way around. But then still 22.7% of you said nay, so make up your damn mind. After that is Discord Adams. So Discord gave us an even slower and more laboured walk than usual because she obviously was quite limited in her movement. I think the look is fine. It's a little bit simple. It's pretty and everything. It's fine. I think I'd probably give it a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, it looks like you did not like this very much. So 42.6% said just okay, but then 32.6, which is almost a third, said nay, but then 24.8 said yay. So really, it's anyone's guess. Then penultimately, we have Nini Coco. I saw online someone said that Nini was inspired by Gigi Good's outfit with the buttons. I'm not sure if that's true or not. If it is, I'll put it somewhere if I find out that that's true. But I did kind of think that when I saw this because of the briefcase as well. I think it's always dangerous if you do reference another look because you're always going to be compared to it. I don't think it was as good as Gigi's, but also the color probably is part of it. It's a nice outfit though. I just think because it's beige, you can't quite see some of the details unless you get really up close, so some of it was a little bit lost, but I still liked it, so it'd be a just okay towards a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, 54.5% of you said yay, 40.3 for just okay, and then 5.1 for nay. And finally, we have Jane Don't. I'm sure there's a reference that I'm forgetting that they mentioned, but I really enjoyed it. The only tiny thing I would say is I would argue this is not really beige. It's more brown or kind of slightly towards brown, more tan, perhaps they would say. Yes, I do have a PhD in colors, but I do love the look. It's giving me old Hollywood glam, so definitely a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, 75.6% of you said yay, so just over three quarters. 19.1 for just okay, though. I wonder if it's people who also thought that this wasn't quite beige enough. And then 5.3% for nay. So I asked you, whose beige outfit gets the beige sleigh, and you voted Darlene Mitchell with 34%, then Juicy Love Dion with 27.7%, and then quite closely in third place was Jane Don't with 24.3%. I definitely would give the sleigh to Darlene. I loved it. It was just so interesting. It definitely was beige. Loved the shoulder pads, loved how different the fabric is. It's so wrong that it's so right. Very editorial and cool. Definitely Darlene gets the sleigh. So we find out that the winner for this week is Jane Don't. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the winner? Interestingly, it was quite close. 58.1% of you said yes, but then 41.9% said no. So of that not far off a half of you, I said, who do you think should have been the winner instead? And a staggering 86.9% of you said Mikey Meeks. And then the rest of the percentages are quite small, but Darlene was second with 6.5, then it was Kenya with 4.5. As I said earlier, although I loved Jane and she probably was the funniest because her character was the funniest, but she did also do an amazing job at characterizing it and giving it personality. But I think I would give it to Mikey just because as the lead, you always have the hardest job and it's so easy to bomb, but Mikey didn't. So I think I would have to give Mikey the win this week. So then we find out that the bottom two are the Dions, Juicy and Athena. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, did you agree with the bottom two? Again, very split. 55.4% said yes, so the majority technically, but then 44.6%, which is not far off, said no. So of that almost half of you that said no, I said, who do you think should have been the bottom two? Interestingly, Discord Adams came out on top, then it was Athena Dion, so you'd have swapped out Juicy for Discord. Again, I'm very much giving Natalie Imbruglia because I'm torn about this. I can see that. I don't think Discord was the best. She probably was like the third worst, but I do think I remember Juicy not being as good more than I remember Discord not being good, because I think Discord maybe did enough for me to kind of almost forget about her, whereas with Juicy, I actively remembered her not being that great. So I think I would have to agree with the bottom two, sadly. So Juicy and Athena then lip sync to the song Call Me When You Break Up by Selena Gomez, Benny Blanco and Gracie Abrams, because Benny Blanco was the guest judge this week. And we find out that Juicy Love Dion wins the lip sync, so unfortunately, Athena Dion is eliminated. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who do you think won the lip sync? And it was pretty much a landslide. 87.2% said Juicy, and then 12.8% for Athena. We'll get onto this in the comment section, but this was obviously a very, I would say, predictable, but also sad and emotional lip sync, because obviously it's mother and daughter, or mother and granddaughter, I think, technically. It was very emotional, but I do agree Juicy did do a better job in the lip sync. So the final two questions. Question 8, based on what we've seen so far, who do you want to win the season? Mikey Meeks came out on top, interestingly, maybe again because she was good this week. 36.8% was her amount. Then it was Jane Don't with 21%. Then not that far behind was Nene with 16.9%. And then, perhaps slightly easier to predict, based on what we've seen so far, who do you think will win the season? Again, as has become tradition for the last God knows how many weeks, 66.2% voted for Jane Don't, which was by far the majority. Then it was 15.6% for Nene and 11.5% for Mikey. So it does seem that Jane Don't has probably got it in the bag, but it looks like you kind of want Mikey to win. If I had to give a prediction, by the way, I think Jane definitely will win unless something happens between now and then. I do want her to win as well, I think. Although I love Mikey, I think because Jane has just been so consistently good at everything, I think so far she maybe deserves the win the most. Although I do love Mikey as well. So I would be happy for Mikey to maybe be top 2 with her. Okay, so moving on to the comments, we'll start with my Patreon comments. My Patreon Oxymoron said, it had to happen. We were waiting for some Dion family lip sync. And I think this was quite a common theme. A lot of people said it was such a predictable thing they were going to put the two family members in the bottom against each other, a bit like Sugar and Spice. Yeah, it was very predictable. I could see the writing on the wall, but it was emotional, and I guess it did provide an interesting lip sync. My Patreon Patty said, I really enjoyed the lip sync. The musical was fantastic. I do wonder about this because I did like the music, but I think there have been other Rusicals that I think are better. What is my favorite Rusical, you may ask? I actually can't think of one off the top of my head. Controversially, I quite enjoyed the one from All Stars 8.
How could he say that?
I know All Stars 8 was not a very popular season period, but it was the Joan the Rusical. I actually quite enjoyed the music on that one and the performances. But let me know in the comments what your favourite Rusical is and why. My Patreon Emmy said, Kenya versus remembering the words to anything, because obviously they mentioned that. Discord versus walking/moving, Nini versus making decisions. This was definitely an episode where all the stereotypes came out and I was kind of living for it and eating my imaginary popcorn. And my Patreon, Nikki, made a similar comment about the lip sync saying, I saw the Dion family lip sync coming a mile away. It was very emotional. Really, either Mikey or Jane could have taken this home. I couldn't decide. I definitely agree with you. And my Patreon, David, almost said pretty much the similar thing of, I feel like it should have been a double win. I'm usually not one for double wins. So would I have broken that rule for this episode? I don't know. I do personally think Mikey deserved it more, but I wouldn't have been very angry. I would have just been a little bit angry about a double win with Jane this week, but I do think Mikey deserved it a little bit more. My Patreon, Elizabeth Ann, said something I agree with. Darlene Mitchell brings me joy. We'll talk about this in a minute because other people said this, but I love Darlene Mitchell so much. She's so fun. She's always smiling. She's just literally a golden retriever as a person, which is funny that she was a dog this week. But I love Darlene. She's probably going to be the season 18 Miss Congeniality. I'm calling it now. And my Patreon, Jessica, kind of said something similar of, as someone whose favorite cartoon is Scooby-Doo, as in dog, I thought Darlene was adorable this week. And my Patreon, Max, also liked the Rusical and said I thought this was one of the better Rusicals. I, however, couldn't bring myself to watch the lip sync. I kept my eyes closed the whole time because I knew it would be emotional. I don't know if I quite felt the same way. Maybe I'm just, like Paula Abdul says, I'm a cold-hearted snake. But I personally didn't really feel like that. It was sad, but I certainly wasn't going to cry. But it was a kind of a beautiful moment. It definitely was something I think people will remember. It was giving me very much... who was it? Jujubee and Raven on All Stars 1 when they had to lip sync. And then moving on to the Have Your Say poll comments, someone said about the lip sync, we all knew it was coming. I honestly thought there would have been a bit more fight in them both and it would have been better. Someone said, oh my God, I teared up in that lip sync. Again, I'm obviously just dead inside because I didn't, although I did think it was emotional. But personally, I think it would have been a double save for something like that. You know, I'm not a fan of double saves. I'm just like, get him out, get him out. I'm a cold-hearted snake.
I just don't get why people don't like me. Yeah, because you're a bitch.
And then a lot of people were like, I'm Team Mikey now for the win. She's killing it. Just like with you with your videos. Well, thank you. And no, I did not write that myself. But let me know now, what are your predictions of who do you think is going to win season 18? And is that different from who you want to win the season? Okay, so finally, we're going to move on to a little bit of recent drama to do with Jane Don't addressing some disturbing allegations. A couple of days ago, people noticed that Jane Don't had archived all of her Instagram posts and her account was empty. She then posted an Instagram story which said, I've been made aware of some disturbing allegations made about me. I don't want to rush to address them because I believe the severity deserves a thoughtful response. So I'm taking time to formulate my thoughts. Talk soon. This then started a huge amount of speculation online, with people wondering what Jane had done because there didn't seem to be any more background or context. A few Drag Race queens also commented on the situation. For example, Lana Duray tweeted saying, sending love to Jane right now. Briar Blush said, guys, Jane needs her peace. That's my sister. I need you guys to really be on her side when it all comes to light. Athena Dion then made what was seemingly a jokey tweet which said, ugh, Jane taking attention away from my elimination is so annoying and mean-spirited. But then someone responded to Athena asking what Jane did, and Athena replied saying she will address it when she's ready, I guess. Then, the next day, after a lot of intense speculation on social media, Jane posted a video on Instagram where she said she would be addressing these, quote, disturbing allegations. So here is the video Jane posted.
Hi guys, it's me, Jane Don't, and I just wanted to come on here and address some really upsetting allegations that have been made about me in the past little bit. Healing can only begin when accountability happens. So today, I'm here to take accountability for the allegations. Many people have alleged that I'm annoying.
No, comes off. That seems a little bit like annoying.
Yeah, it is, but it's also like I've settled into like her annoyance, right? So like now I like...
And I guess what I have to say to that, in the spirit of accountability, is that I am. So, what now? That healing starts at home. And I've been at home making merchandise that you can purchase. Every cent you spend on my merchandise goes to help an annoying person overcome.
So it became clear that this whole thing was just a joke or a stunt to promote a new line of Jane's merch and making fun of the comments people had been making calling her annoying. The reaction to this situation online was somewhat mixed. A lot of the top comments on Jane's video post were from other queens, saying that this was stupid and funny. But on the flip side, there were also a lot of comments saying that this was tacky and not funny, especially as there are a lot of queens in the past who genuinely have serious allegations against them, so they criticised Jane for making light of this sort of thing. Athena tweeted about the situation again, saying, "I told y'all she was annoying, go check her story." Georges then seemed to weigh in on the situation as well and tweeted saying, "Jane just peed me the hell off. I ain't buying bleep from that slut." But then in the replies, Georges commented saying, "It's just a joke by the way, y'all. I love Jane." Jane has since posted more Instagram stories where she said, "Since I'm sure my engagement today will be insane, I'd like to use this opportunity to highlight something we should all be turning our attention to. Supporting trans people in Kansas who are under attack by their government. Please plug in with the following organizations and consider donating." And she posted a link to an LGBTQ organization in Kansas. She also posted a screenshot showing that she herself had made a $500 donation. Then, in a separate story, she showed that Discord Adams had matched her donation as well. So in general, it was clear that this was just a joke or a stunt by Jane for the merch, but also to help a charity. And although a lot of people thought it was funny and unserious, some people thought the mention of the quote disturbing allegations was in poor taste. But as I always say in my videos, please do not send hate to anyone involved and just consume this type of content in a responsible manner. So there you go, there was the Have Your Say video for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18, Episode 9. What did you think of the Rusical this season, and how does it stack up to other Rusicals? Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to my Patreon, Maria, who recently upgraded to the You're a Winner Baby tier. Maria, you are definitely a winner baby. If you'd like to get your comments featured in my Have Your Say videos, get exclusive access, early access to videos, as well as multiple other things, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It's a cheap way to support the channel and it does go a long way, so please check it out and I'll put a link in the description. I'd also like to say thank you so much to all of my amazing Patreon members. Honestly, every month you blow me away with just how lovely and supportive you are. I love speaking to you in the exclusive chat. You are just the most amazing community ever, and I thank my lucky stars every single day. Please make sure you like and comment on this video to help boost it in the algorithm and promote it to more people. And the most important thing you can do is subscribe, because it does make a massive difference. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.